My progress so far in Elden Ring is not very much, but the reason is because I was very busy with testing. Okay, you know what the truth is? I died a lot, okay? I just died a lot. I just have the Xbox Series X version today and not the PlayStation 5 version as well, and the reason is very simple: lack of money. And why I decided to go with the Xbox version, not with the PlayStation 5 version, is also very simple, because on the Xbox Series I can test Dolby Vision as well. And there's another reason, and I will make another video about this as well. As many other games, Elden Ring does not support the HDR calibration menu on the Xbox Series X, and I'm quite sure the same counts for the PlayStation 5 as well, because we have actually quite well working in-game sliders. HDR in-game settings in Elden Ring. We have the brightness setting, which adjusts the overall brightness, or the base brightness as I call it. Then we have the maximum brightness, which is for the maximum peak luminance from your TV, and then we have of course saturation, which gives you less or more colors. So those values at the moment, what you can see, are the standard values when you start the game for the very first time. And what I really like on those HDR settings is that you can use them while you're actually playing, and this is very, very helpful because you can adjust the picture just very, very easily. And I like this much better than having a static picture or test pattern actually, what is not even correct, like in Horizon Forbidden West, where I measured a complete different maximum peak brightness in the test pattern compared to the real game. So this is a very good example how HDR sliders in a game should be implemented. Okay, let's talk about my recommended settings for the OLED LG CX 65-inch, and please keep in mind, if you use a complete different TV like a QLED, then most likely you have to adjust those settings a little bit, okay? So let's start with saturation, because that's the easiest one, and because it will not affect HDR or something like that at all. But I personally found 5 is a little bit too less, and I like to increase it to around 7 or 8. I'm not quite sure now what I like more, 7 or maybe 8, but that's as always absolutely up to you, because this is just own preference, okay? I just found it a little bit too less saturated with standard setting to 5. So when we're talking about maximum brightness, then I found that for my LG CX 900 is the best value, because I found that on very fine objects I got more maximum peak brightness first of all, and then I got a little bit more details as well. So 900 for my OLED LG CX 65-inch, perfect. And now talking about brightness, number 5 is actually very good, but there's something what we need to consider. Okay, so let's talk about the downside from OLED TVs when we have a lot of very bright objects on the screen, and when ABL, automatic brightness limiter, is kicking in. So in this case we have brightness set to 5, maximum brightness is 900, and I was able to measure 450 candela on this bright sun, which you can't see because it's a HDR picture and I'm recording in SDR. So 450 candela. As soon I reduce the brightness to 0, I was able to measure almost 500 candela. And the explanation is quite simple: because we reduce the brightness, the overall brightness, the TV has now much more power to actually display the spectacular highlights like the sun or the moon here. So I like to show you something. Just because we reduce the brightness here, that doesn't mean the game likes to output the exact same maximum peak brightness. So in this case we set the brightness to 0, but the maximum brightness is still 900. The game is asking to output 840 nits, okay? So with the setting to 5, let me just change this to 5, which is my recommended settings, the game likes to output 883 candela, a little bit more, but we need also to consider that the game is also dynamic weather and stuff like that, so it was very hard for me to have exactly the same measurement all the time. But you can see there's no difference, or almost no difference, between setting brightness to 5 or to 0, the maximum peak brightness is always the same, and this is what we like to have, because it shouldn't be that you change the base brightness and then the maximum peak brightness is also getting changed a lot. This is the perfect behavior what I like to see from HDR in-game settings. My recommended settings for HDR10 are the same for dynamic tone mapping on and HGiG. And now of course the question is, what about Dolby Vision? Please keep in mind, this game is not mastered in Dolby Vision. That means when you use the Dolby Vision mode on the Xbox and on your LG CX or a capable TV, it will use the HDR10 metadata. That means you shouldn't expect any difference in terms of the visual quality from HDR. But as always, we need to consider one thing. Dolby Vision tends to be darker compared to HDR10 or HGiG, because HGiG and Dolby Vision, they're having actually the same behavior. Dynamic tone mapping on, we know that dynamic tone mapping on is changing the picture brightness all the time. HGiG and Dolby Vision are not, okay? Behavior is almost the same, but again, Dolby Vision tends to be darker compared to HGiG. The maximum peak brightness, what I was able to measure in this game with my colorimeter, was around 640 candela with HGiG. To reach the same value, the same peak output, brightness output in Dolby Vision, I had to increase this from 900 to 1100. Keep this in mind, Dolby Vision is always a little bit darker compared to HGiG. And as always, a very important question is Dolby Vision or HDR10, and if you use HDR10, should you use dynamic tone mapping on or HGiG? And my recommendation for this game is use HDR10 and dynamic tone mapping on, because Dolby Vision and HGiG are way too dark. Okay, my friends, so that's it for Elden Ring and the HDR settings on the Xbox Series X, but I'm very sure if there's not something major wrong, then the same counts for the PlayStation 5 version as well. So I will do more testing, and I need to be very careful because this guy killed me already a couple of times, so I have no idea how to beat him. Maybe I'm walking here or going here for now. Anyway, I'm continuing doing testing because the next video about Elden Ring is already in progress when you watch this, and maybe already uploaded. Depends of course when you watch this video. Anyway, I would much appreciate if you're new to my channel, please like and subscribe, and I see you guys next time. Bye.